How am I sounding audio? Like, is that picking up okay? I can,
You sound fine, mate. Yeah, you sound all
yeah,
right.
I can
Yeah,
tweak. I can make it louder, quieter, move it, anything if
sounds
needed.
sounds perfect.
Sick.
Yeah,
All right.
that's great. It was nice to see you playing in the park last week, and I loved the sound of your music. Very funky, very
Thank you.
jazzy and upbeat. So your name's Stefan Celosia. Is that right?
Celosia, yeah.
Celosia.
Celosia.
I'm glad I got that right there because
You
I
did,
was.
yeah.
Are you from France then, originally?
Kind of. I was born in London, mostly grew up in France and in Belgium, though, and then came here to study when I left home about 12 years ago now,
Uh,
and I've been in Glasgow since. So,
right. You haven't really got the accent, the French
nah.
Belgian accent. I don't know what that would be like anyway.
I mean, I'll take it as long as I'm covering it up. That's fine.
Yeah. So I was listening to some of your music. It sounds really very, very good. Lots of
Thank
different
you.
tunes going on. Like it's all really great kind of flow and beat, and everything seems to gel really well. And your your chronicles during lockdown. Do you
Hmm.
want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, initially they started off as a bit of a more of a kind of teaching tool for myself, I guess. I was in lockdown and found myself with all this time and went, right, well, this is as good an opportunity as any to dig deep on some writing and, the stuff that I normally kind of more easily put aside because I'm busy with gigs or writing with other people and all that, and none of that was an option. So I was like, okay, I'll just write some little ditties basically and then see where that takes me, and then that just kind of grew a little bit of its own momentum from there, and I eventually released some of them, and the theme of each one, I did four, and the theme of each one was kind of dealing with different aspects of the challenges that can arise from living through something like a lockdown or in isolation basically.
Mhm.
So for example, the first track is called Cabin Fever, so that's pretty, even
Yeah,
just from the title, pretty self-explanatory.
yeah,
Just dealing with the challenges of isolation, especially at the beginning when we weren't really used to it, and so the music was my way of I guess translating that and or translating how I felt about it
yeah,
in loose esoteric musical terms.
yeah. Putting your feelings
um,
onto like sound.
yeah, yeah, or trying to, I think, and that was part of the thing was to try and learn how to do that because I'd written a bit before and I've written, a bass line or a drum part or whatever, but I've not really, or hadn't really learned how to convey actual emotional content onto into music. So that was a good thing to channel it. Right, I'm feeling this right now. How do I translate that into musical
Yeah,
form? So, and then that kind of just grew from there, and all the ones after that were just kind of extensions of that idea, just developed in different directions. So, for example, the second one was Functioning Addict, which was kind of dealing more with the sort of the high octane, sort of manic, I guess, element of lockdown, just kind of like trying to keep yourself pumped and trying to keep yourself motivated and exposing yourself to lots of high octane stuff to try and keep yourself ticking over and all that kind of idea.
yeah,
The third one was Fiesta en la Casa, which was relating to, I guess, having a party on your own, for lack of a better way of putting it.
I think I
Um,
was I was trying to do that, but was unsuccessful.
I mean, yeah, it's the song. That one's a little bit of a sort of sarcastic, slightly bittersweet sort of. In an ideal world, it would be this big, it's Latin salsa and lots of flamenco guitarists and dancers everywhere, but the reality is just you on your own trying to get through it. So I don't know, trying to bring a bit of kind of lightheartedness, I guess, to the thing as well, and just kind of trying to laugh about it rather than cry about it, because I generally feel that's, if we can, that's a better way to go about it.
Yeah,
And then the last one was called Fear Machine, and that was, I guess, maybe that was the darkest one of the lot. I guess it was a bit more about this like kind of the fear that we have in our head. There's like, the voices in our head that tell us to be afraid of things, the voices in media or everything else that tell us to be afraid of things, and how that creates this very negative backdrop that we find ourselves eventually living in, and how that can be its own set of challenges and different obstacles to overcome within that.
Yeah. And those songs there on Spotify right now, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, they're all on Spotify, YouTube, Bandcamp, pretty much
Bandcamp.
everywhere I can think of. I've put
Yeah.
them, so they should all be there.
Is
Um,
there a hard copy at all? Or
no, not yet. It's something I'm thinking about, but I've not really had any budget to
it's
spend.
probably
So,
like a specialist kind of fan base, wouldn't it? Maybe.
I mean, I think the first thing I need to do is get a fan base, and then I'll have then and then I can sell them stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, so starting with that. Plus, I don't really have any money, which is
Uh-huh.
part of the reason I've done everything myself is to save money. Part of it's because I'm enjoying learning all the things anyways, and I have the time to do it at the moment. So that's kind of gone well together, but it does mean that for things like hard copies or anything like that at the moment, it's not something I'm in a position
Yeah.
to put forward. But I do have, obviously, I've got the Bandcamp up. I've got a Patreon up as well. So if enough people, show an interest and are willing to help me out or contribute or buy any of the tracks for themselves, that money all goes straight back into anything that I can put it in, whether it be hardware to record or film things, or things like hard copies or merchandise when appropriate for that. So hopefully in time I'll be able to do all of that stuff.
Uh-huh. Well, I think you're good enough anyway. I think you're a really good artist, and you deserve a bit of recognition.
Oh,
You know,
that's sweet.
that's when I heard you in the park. I thought these guys would be great for the radio because they're excellent. You know, the music they produce.
Yeah. Well, and the two guys, Luca and Alex, that I was playing with that day in the park as well, they do their own music. I know Luca certainly has released a tune, and he's got another one coming up under Luca Pisanu. Um,
Is it
and
the drummer?
no, he's the guitarist, the guy who's playing
Oh
guitar and
yeah,
singing.
right. I think I
Um,
saw he's maybe get a single out. Is that right?
yeah, he released a single
Yeah,
middle of summer, I think, and he's got another one
yeah,
another bun in the oven for that as
yeah.
well.
I think I had a listen. It was really good. It was like on a beach or something, playing the
Yeah,
guitar.
yeah, the video was like kind of he was in
Yeah,
Sardinia. He's from Sardinia and he was back there over the summer for like, I think he did most of his lockdown through in Sardinia. So he was lucky
yeah.
enough to have some nice places to film, I guess, and all that sort of stuff.
And the drummer, I listened to some of his stuff, and it was excellent as well.
He's amazing, yeah.
Couldn't
Alex
believe how
Palmer's.
how flexible he was. He was playing the Aphex Twins song, and it was amazing. And
Mhm.
my cousin, he's a drummer, or he was a drummer with a band, and I linked to him and says, what do you think? You know,
Nah, they're both of them are just top great human beings and amazing, amazing musicians as well. It's always even now where we can't do much, the few little bits that we can do where we can play together or anything like that, it's always such a enlivening experience. It just really, yeah, I'm walking around with a high for the next week just from that one little busking session. And
yeah,
a big part of that is because I get to play with people like that who just really bring the what's the saying? Not bring the mustard, but you know what I mean.
yeah. And it did cheer up a lot of people in the park that day. I could see there
Mhm.
was a crowd in that, and during lockdown, you need things like that to try and
Yeah, yeah.
keep you on the
Something
up.
to bring us together.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because yeah, music should be doing that, you know. Um, so how often do you busk then? Is that a regular
Um,
thing?
no, I mean, I've been out a few times, but most like every time it's been with different people. So I play in this band called Rambootan, and we've been out with the band once, and I've been out with the singer and guitarist from that band for like a couple sessions as well on top of that. And then I've been out a couple times on my own, and then this one there with Luca and Alex. So it's been quite sporadic, and it's been a bit, I mean, difficult for a number of reasons. One of which being that we never really know what the rules are going to be, or is this allowed, is this not allowed? So it's sometimes hard to plan things properly or to get people on board,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of uncertainty basically, and a lot of
yeah,
a lot of kind of fear around that. So that's been tricky. And then as well as that, getting everybody available, and then the weather being good,
Yeah,
etc.
the
etc.
weather.
So
Yeah.
weather's a big one, to be honest. Here,
Yeah,
that takes
yeah.
away most
If you
days.
had like a sort of gazebo thing, I suppose,
Yeah, well, there are places, but the problem is most people aren't going to be out if it's raining anyway. So you'd be playing to no one, or especially now where was it like we're in tier 4, so there's
yeah.
towns probably quite
During
quiet, that
during
kind of thing.
winter
So
as well, it's getting cold
and
as
winter,
well. Yeah.
but no, the response every time we've been out has been, my sentiment every time after or during is like this is the real thing right here. This is what we're here for. That's our purpose within society, so to speak, is
Hmm.
to do that, to be out playing
Uh,
music and giving people that kind of focal point
uh,
to, for even if it's just for a couple of minutes, forget about everything else and just
yeah.
enjoy this connection with other human beings, and create a little vibe right there. And that's what we're there for. That's and that feels, when we get to do it, it feels amazing, and it's a rare but very much appreciated privilege to get to do it.
Yeah. So your band, is it called Rambootan? Then
Rambootan, yeah.
I looked up their Spotify and checked out some. I think there's 4 or 5 songs
I
on
think
that.
on Spotify 4, and then yeah, there's a few other videos and things like that here and there.
Yeah. So have you got anything planned for Rambootan in the future?
Yeah, quite a lot actually, but again, with like most of these types of things, it's all a bit
That hush hush,
uncertain.
a bit hush hush, is it?
Well, some of it is, yeah. But I can say some stuff. So
Yeah.
there is an EP planned for, I think, beginning to middle of next year, which is going to tie in with a bunch of it's going to have a whole narrative throughout the EP, and the tracks are going to be released one by one with videos all telling a story. So it'll be almost like once you watch them all back to back, it'll make up almost like a short movie.
Oh,
So that's like a proper kind of concept EP. The guy John, who leads Rambutan and writes the music, kind of conceives of all the material. He's got a very narrative driven way of looking at these things, and I like that's a big part of what I love about playing with them, is that everything has a purpose, everything has a meaning. He's really trying to say something, and I think what he's trying to say has got a lot of value.
yeah,
So that's a ton of fun
yeah.
to work with, and we're actually just me and the guy Lowell. This is a few roundabout turns back to the point, but me and Lowell produced the first EP, the one that's on Spotify.
Hmm.
So we were the engineers and producers for that, and we're currently meeting up to produce this next EP as well. So we're kind of deciding, what vibe is this song gonna have, what instruments is it gonna have, and arranging them, and blah blah blah. And so we're at the process of doing all of that just now, with aims to record and release sometime, I believe next year, possibly in the summer or something like that. So that, and a couple other little singles here and there, a couple other videos that we've kind of held back for now that are going to get used at some point. We recently put out a cover of a John Mayer song, actually, that seemed to go down quite well. That did well. So that's out on, I think, YouTube and Facebook and all these places. So if anybody's interested, look up Rambutan on any of these platforms, and yeah, you should be able to find a bunch of stuff to get
Yeah,
you started.
yeah. I mean, that sounds excellent. Like, so the EP, is that an EP to me? Sort of sounds like vinyl, but is it, if there's video, then is that DVD as well? What type
Well,
of
actually,
format is that?
I don't actually know the details of that now that you mention it. I'm sure there is a plan relating to that, but I'm not aware of that, so I couldn't
Yeah,
say. As far as I'm aware, so the idea is songs will be released as singles, and I guess maybe calling it an EP is the wrong term because it won't come out all at once. So maybe I'm just using the wrong word for it there.
yeah.
And they'll have a video for each song, and then they will kind of continue on from each other, and it's this whole story about a girl who's looking for her friend, and things happen over the course
Uh,
of this journey.
so it's like a digital kind of story then that
Yeah,
progresses,
yeah.
progresses. Right,
Yeah.
right.
I don't know all of the details, and I think he's still
Yeah,
refining as he goes and figuring out what he's gonna do with
it,
it. So
it actually sounds amazing, and I've not heard that anybody. I've not heard that actually. I mean, there has been DVDs that bands have produced, but
Hmm.
nothing. This sounds a bit different. This sounds a bit.
Yeah, it's I'm really excited about it. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's of all the various little things that I've been involved in, Rambootan is the one that's got me
Yeah.
the most. Like, wow, this
Right.
is exciting to be a part of, kind of thing. So I'm
Uh-huh.
really looking forward to seeing where that all leads.
That's great. And then, so are you also a music teacher?
Yeah, I used to teach maths and physics back in the day. Um, to make ends meet during my kind of uni and college years. And little by little, I got busier and busier with gigging, so I wasn't able to do that anymore. And then now with lockdown, I've had a lot more time, so I've started to just try and get back into the teaching in the meantime. But trying to teach guitar, bass, drums. If drums is maybe a bit trickier at this point, but
Yeah.
certainly bass and guitar, and anything else, production or anything else that someone might be interested in learning. So
Yeah.
because
That's a
it's
load
I don't
of knowledge you've got there then. Maths, physics, drum, bass, instruments,
know.
and
I've walked too many roads, and
yeah,
now
it's
I'm
a
old and weary.
vast wealth of knowledge you have there to share with people.
Well, hopefully, I don't know. It's
Uh,
everybody does. I think it's
yeah.
just
How,
finding
how,
people who want to learn it.
how much would it cost to actually book? I mean, is it an hour that you would if
So usually I do well. I actually it varies. It can be I start with half an hour, and half an hour to an hour seems to be the kind of the happy medium. And I usually go for about £20 for a half hour, 35 for an hour. But then most of the time I don't think I've ever actually found myself charging that much because most of the
yeah,
time I end up working something out because I realize right now everybody's skint and we're all kind of
yeah,
doing what we can. So if someone can't quite afford it, or I'm generally quite happy to work out a deal because for me it's the satisfaction of doing it that's really carrying me forward. Just having something to do and having a purpose and conveying something that someone might be interested in, and I don't know, just being busy right now. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
nice to have something.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I've been doing this radio show just as a hobby on the side, like, and just to
Hmm.
cheer people up. And I don't get paid anything for it. It's all, and I'm just trying to start this community thing up,
Hmm.
business type sort of charity, non-profit, and all that's off my own back. You
Yeah,
know,
it's a lot to
um,
take on.
so it's just yeah, I know what you mean. Like like, and yeah, sorry, off on a tangent there.
No, no, not at all, not at all.
So have you? What's your? Is there any people that stand out growing up that have influenced your your music or your tastes?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a pretty long list at this point because I have a very short attention span, so I've listened and gotten quite into a lot of different things over the years. But I guess standouts are probably people like Jimi Hendrix at the beginning that kind of
Oh, he's
first
great.
got me from not playing when I was 15. I guess I started guitar, I think. And that was like my first kind of start on music, and that was people like Jimi Hendrix that got me thinking about that and went, oh, okay, maybe this is something I could, be interested in doing.
Yeah.
And then maybe later on, or more recently, especially, I've become really obsessed with kind of the greats, so to speak. So people like in the mainstream world. So people like the Beatles or Eagles. Trying to remember who else, like the Doobie Brothers. A whole bunch of people. There's one specific one I wanted to mention. Stevie Wonder. That's another big one. Queen as well. All these kinds of artists that made it in the mainstream world that were, were and are massively popular and universally popular, but still did their own thing. They weren't
Yeah.
necessarily just following the trends or whatever. They were the trends, and I've become really interested in what it is about them that makes that work, that made them able to do that, and what makes their music carry so much, I guess, depth or value. You listen to that stuff and you're really touched by it, and it carries, it's aesthetically pleasing, but it also carries this deeper, richer kind of meaning. And I don't know, I not going to pretend to know how they do it or to be able to replicate it, but I don't think it'll hurt me to listen and analyze that stuff more and
Yeah,
try to understand it better and try to figure out
yeah,
what it was that they did that made that so.
yeah. Because you could get some inspiration from that, and that could lead on to
Hmm.
something else.
Yeah, like just tons of ideas, tons of good everything in that music. And
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's a joy to listen to. So it's not like a
yeah,
chore to do some deep dives on that.
yeah. I heard you mention Queen there. Have you got a favorite Freddie Mercury song by chance?
Oh, possibly Love of My Life has got like a soft spot for
Right.
me. Um, but it's hard to say. He's got just too many amazing
Yeah.
performances to count.
I know there was a recent one played on Sonny G, and that was to commemorate Sean Connery's part in Highlander,
Mm.
and it was the immortal one. You know
Oh, I
that
don't
one?
know if I. How does that go? I don't know if I
It's
know
the one
that.
in Highlander, and you would know it if you heard it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen Highlander, which is bad. I
You should
should
watch
probably.
it. A
I'll watch that
classic.
and then
That
get
is a
back to you.
classic. There's like three of them or something. And Sean Connery, he's in one of them, and his name's Ramirez, I think. The whole
Hmm.
soundtrack was actually done by Freddie Mercury.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh wow. I
so
definitely need to
done the
check that
whole
out.
soundtrack. Yeah,
That's amazing. What's your favorite? What's your favorite Freddie Mercury?
I think it has to be that song actually, the
Yeah, that
Highlander
one.
song. Yeah, I think it's that song. There is a few other ones though. I like I used to have an album that was more like Barcelona type. It was more soft songs, and that was sort of more sort of heart, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the word, but
Like yeah, apart probably because he was. Are
yeah,
you talking about his solo stuff?
yeah. It was
Yeah, he had a lot of that kind of lyres and harps and stuff like that,
there was an
right?
album, and it was a really soft kind of mellow, it was a very good album, and it was different from his normal stuff, but
Mm.
it sort of stuck in my head, you know.
Yeah, I'll need to check that out. I mean, if he did the soundtrack to the movie, it's bound to be it's bound to be worth
Yeah. Well,
checking out.
that was a different one, but the soundtrack to
Yeah, yeah, true.
was brilliant. Yeah. So we've covered quite a lot there, Stefan.
Yeah.
I don't know
Um, I
if you
had. I mean, I don't know if now's the best time to chat about this, but I had a kind of few thoughts. Maybe we'll do this at the end though, like thoughts of kind of
I'll do it just
um
now.
or like bits where we could put so the songs that I've picked, they were like specific topics I thought they would kind of go well
Yeah,
with, like when I've mentioned them, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
But might be easier if I send you this even. Well, it's
yeah.
up to you. You tell me how best to do this.
I'm quite easy. If you send me the songs that you want played, then I'll play them, and just I'll, I'll play them just whenever you like. So
Yeah.
what I do is I'll split it up into between like the first 3 to 5 minutes, and then I play a song. There's an intro and the song in the background of the intro, and then an introduction, and then the interview is 3 minutes, and then a song, and then another 3 minutes of
Hmm.
a song, and another 3 minutes of a song,
Yeah.
and then at the end there's an outro.
Okay.
It's
So
like an hour. It's
specific.
an hour long. It's an hour long. So,
Cool. I think yeah, I've got a few songs, and we have actually covered most of the topics I'd sort of prepared for. There was one particular kind of angle that was maybe worth talking a little bit about because I wanted to talk about well, I guess tied into how I got started into music. But the
yeah,
reason I wanted to talk about that was so that I could talk about the local music scene, which
sure.
led me to the brass holes and a bunch of other things. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that's something
No,
worth.
we'll talk about that then. So I'll just ask you. So Stefan, what got you into music in the first place then?
That's a yeah, big question. I mean, back in the when I was younger, in my 14, 15 years of age. I just kind of started on a whim, pretty much. Heard Jimi Hendrix and went, oh, that's pretty cool. I want to do maybe learn how to do some of that. And then it's just kind of grown slowly but surely over time without being that serious or committed a thing until reasonably recently, just in the last 4 or 5 years. And the thing that really got me from not really trying to trying was actually the local Glasgow jam scene, which has kind of been a thing as long as I've been aware of it, but I imagine has been going for years. But there's jam. There used to be weekly jams in Mango and Buteyko and Swing and all these different places. And I first started going to these, and yeah, that kind of hooked me straight away. It was madness. It was just all the best players in town dropping the dirtiest grooves all over the place, and just it was so infectious. You just wanted to join in.
Yeah.
And at the time, the guys that were kind of heavily involved in all of this they've since formed a band actually called the Tom McGuire and the Brass Holes, and so they're doing their thing. They're
Brasco, is that
the Brass Holes, yeah.
right? I thought it was a dirty joke there.
I mean, it's close. But yes, so they've gone on to form a band out of, I guess, a large amount of the people that were involved in that, and yeah, just tons and tons of really funky, really groovy, you know, James Brown-esque stuff going
Love
on
James
there.
Brown. James
Like,
Brown's amazing.
honestly, like, yeah, if you like James Brown, you'll like the Brass Holes, I imagine, anyways.
I'll need to check them out on are they on Spotify?
Yeah, yeah, they released an album a year or two ago, actually. I think they've got other stuff out since as well, but the album is honestly, I obviously I don't know, it's different when you know the people and when they're just people from afar, but this is just some of the best music I've ever heard
Yeah.
across the board. It's really something. I highly recommend anybody who is interested in anything groovy to check it out. And that kind of sound is to me, that's the sound of those jam nights. That's the sound of the Glasgow music scene. That's the sound that got me to want to try, basically. So to me, that's the best sound in the world. It's the sound that made me a musician for all intents and purposes, because I would never have tried otherwise, and I would have never
Like your
taken it that
inspiration.
seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like captured in that one album. There's the sound. It's like that one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Got you hooked.
yeah, just that was it. And after that, it was like, right, time to get to work. And I just started practicing. I went to music college, just gradually started taking it more and more seriously, learned to produce, learned to record, etc., etc. And little by little, it's one skill at a time, one bit of experience at a time. It all cobbled itself together into whatever this is that I have now.
Mhm. It's quite a far from the maths and physics teacher type
It is
thing.
pretty far, yeah.
Done
I
a
came here to
huge
study physics.
U-turn there.
Sorry.
Done a huge U-turn there.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's ironic because I came to Glasgow to study physics, and I basically hated it the whole time. Not Glasgow, but the physics. And
Obviously.
then, like, but then conveniently enough, I turned out to have to have come to the best possible place, I think, in Europe probably, to find my kind of calling. You know, the place that was doing exactly what I turned out to be really about. So that kind of worked out well in the end.
Yeah. So you found your niche then in Glasgow.
I guess it's a work in progress,
Yeah.
I would say,
You're
but
finding your niche. You're
finding,
looking
yeah,
for your niche.
looking, yeah. I mean, I think I need to figure out what it is that
Yeah.
what I'm actually about first, because it's all still a bit
Like working on your
fluid.
niche.
But
Yeah.
maybe one day. I mean, this last year's kind of put a bit of a hold on a lot of that anyway. So it's just kind of like things were starting to move and build in specific directions, and that's all just on pause for the time being, pretty much. So it is what it is. But in the meantime, I think it's, if anything, even more important now than before to try and to keep being creative and to try and bring a little bit of happiness and a little bit of joy into people's lives if you can, and whether that's gigging or releasing music or anything else, it's just about trying to be the thing that music is supposed to be, this force that connects us and makes us want to dance together, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's an important sentiment at the moment that we should try to hold on to, and our job is to try and nurture that. You know, we're the guys that put fuel on the fire, so to speak. So
yeah,
that's not the only guys, but we're some of those guys, and we should be putting that fuel on that fire.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, keeping the old musical gear cogs turning.
Yeah, get it, do what
Probably
we
not a
can.
good description there though.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it fits. Yeah.
Have you got anything coming out soon?
Yeah, I do actually.
Uh,
So I'm releasing a new track. I haven't quite finished the video yet, so I've not decided when the track's going to come out. It may be for Christmas, it may be after Christmas,
mhm.
depending on how a couple things land. But it's called Bread and Circuses, and it's all about this is a nice friendly topic, but it's all about the kind of Bread and Circuses is the name that was attributed to the Roman Empire's political general setup, whereby they understood that if you give the people bread and entertainment, you can generally do whatever you want and keep people distracted. And the idea was to do that. And gradually, as the empire started falling apart, they increased, the entertainment got more and more exotic, and suddenly they were having games for 12 weeks straight, and like hundreds of gladiators were dying, and it was like, things just had to keep getting ramped up and ramped up and ramped up until the eventual collapse of the
Yeah.
empire.
Oh, yeah.
And the song is about how I see a lot of kind of parallels with that, and a lot of the things that we're seeing right now with the globalization of entertainment and the cheapening of entertainment, and how entertainment needs to get more and more gratuitous, but at the same time loses more and more of its essence, and money drives a lot of the decisions rather than cultural or creative value, and all these kinds of different things. Don't want to go too far into that because it's maybe getting a bit political for a musical
I'm not a
segment,
big
but that's
fan
the
of
gist of that.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of consumerism and greed
Hmm.
for sure.
Consumerism, yeah, it's kind of
It's all greed.
denouncing consumerism to some extent, and but also it's not supposed to be an attack. It's more just
Yeah,
I mean, it's lighthearted as well. It's kind of like accepting and appreciating what's going on and where we are right now will give us the tools to hopefully do something about it. It's not about being down about it either.
I think more of a sharing environment is probably best.
Agreed.
Although, yeah, rather
Yes.
rather give than take,
Yeah, yeah.
probably best, I'd say.
I think so too. It's kind of a lot of the information we get at the moment is there's a lot of polarizing information, a lot of things that are divided into very absolute camps. You're either pro something or anti something, that kind of stuff. And we're reducing little by little all these shades of gray, which kind of antagonizes a lot of people and creates a lot of division and a lot of aggression from one camp to the other and all these sorts of things. And I see that causing a lot of, I don't know, yeah, a lot of problems and a lot of angst in people, and I don't think that's necessarily the right direction to go in. I think the direction to go in is to try and live for live for others rather than for yourself whenever you can. Less selfism, more selflessness, because
Yeah,
that actually is, that's what makes us a strong, healthy,
yeah,
considerate, and compassionate society. And I think that's something is worth striving towards.
yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah. I'm actually I'm a Christian person, and
Hmm.
I kind of try and stick to the rules regarding that sort of religion.
Yeah,
And that everything that is in that is actually pretty common sense, and it's all
it
kind of
is.
similar to what you're saying, and you know, just means a lot to me. It's
Hmm.
quite interesting.
I agree. Yeah, I've been discovering a lot of kind of mindfulness and Buddhism, and through that I've found lots of different things. And actually, Christianity is one of them. There's a lot of these kind of core values, like treat others the way you would be treated yourself, and judge not lest ye be judged, and all these kinds of things that actually are themes that we find through lots of different
Yeah.
cultures and through lots of different teachings over thousands and thousands of years. And there's a reason why they're this common theme. They are the backbone of creating a good, healthy society and having people care about each other ends up being better for you. If you're like, and I've seen this in my own life, when I change my perspective to try and put others in front of myself, not at the expense of myself
Yeah,
necessarily, but still
exactly.
to try and do things for others.
Hmm.
I get so much back in just existential joy and satisfaction, and that makes me a better person. I create better circumstances around me as a result, whereas the opposite is also true. If I'm too selfish, I get very negative, I get maybe more angry, and then the circumstances reverse. They start getting worse. I start making other people angry, and it all kind of
Yeah,
collapses around me. And I think that's a really important thing in any culture, but especially right now where we have a lot of bombardment
yeah.
of information that's driving us in the opposite direction. It's doubly important to try and really stay the course on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think you've got to be on guard against that sort of stuff because it can creep in and it can affect your life and everybody
mhm.
else's life. You need to put up a defense against that, I think.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these teachings, these kind of, whether it's spirituality or religion, and obviously a lot of that can be hijacked by different people or institutions, but the core teachings of these things are essentially a bit of a rule book on how to guard yourself against these things. They're kind of methodology, so to speak, to train yourself, to train your brain and your soul and your mind to kind of
Mhm.
see these things when they're happening, understanding yourself and going, oh, I can see I'm getting a bit like this, or I'm getting a bit defensive. Let's take a moment, let's take a breath and think about this, and you know all these different techniques and methods to try and improve yourself and improve the things and circumstances around you. And as musicians, as artists, as creatives, in a way, we're the storytellers of society. We're the people that tell other people stories, and for me, the message I would like to convey with those stories is essentially that kind of notion.
That's great, Stefan. Stefan, I think we're running out of time here. We've
Oh,
only
is
got a
that
couple
us?
of minutes left. Yeah. If there's anything you want to shout out just now?
Um,
Any people, friends, family, and say anything?
I mean, yeah, just I guess never hurts to thank the people that have supported you, of which I've had many. I've had so many friends come to millions of gigs and support me from the very inceptions all the way to now. My bandmates, past and present and future, have always been there for me and always helped me, and without whom I would be nowhere. The many, many people that have taught me all these different things, whether they be bandmates or co-producers, people in studios, all of them, I could name them, but it's too many names to go through. I think the most important are the ones that have been there since the beginning are, and this is a bit cheesy, but my parents, who have always been there for me and are still there for me now, and it means a lot that they are. So a massive thank you to them as well.
That's excellent, and a lot more to come from Stefan Celosia. Sorry, I've got it wrong
Celosia.
there. Yeah, exactly. A lot more to come. So thanks very
Hopefully,
much for
yeah.
coming on the show, Stefan.
Thank you
And
so much for having me.
it's getting broadcast. When's it getting broadcast? So it's next week, next Friday.
Next Friday.
At
Brilliant.
three,
I'll get you all the
yeah,
stuff for the.
next
Is it okay
Friday
if,
at 3 o'clock.
at 8 o'clock, 8
Three,
p.m.?
3 o'clock, three,
3 o'clock.
three
Sweet.
o'clock.
Is it okay if I get a quick snap for social media as well? For
Sure.
just like, yeah, just
Yeah.
something to can promote this as well. I have a couple. I'll try and get you in the.
I would have done a screenshot and sent it to you, but I don't know. I don't know how to do that.
I'm not sure either because I'm using my girlfriend's Mac just now, and I
Right.
don't know how Macs work. So,
Uh-huh.
but
All right. Thanks a lot, Stefan. I think we're nearly at the end, so I'll see you later, mate. And keep
thank you
in
so
touch. If
much.
you
Yeah.
know anybody that wants to get involved on the show, let them
Hmm.
know. Send me an email. Anybody that wants to come on the show.
Yeah.
It's just a donation. There's no set price.
Oh yeah. Send me how to do that actually. Like the
Uh,
link for it or something. I'll get that done as well.
it's a Sunny Govan community radio station. You go onto their website and then you go to donate button,
Okay. Yeah. I'll do that
uh,
then.
and then you can donate just if you've got any spare.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I'm a bit like a busker type thing. I play music for people to listen to,
Mm-hmm.
and some chat with people like yourself, you know.
Yeah. No,
So
that's perfect. I'll jump on and do that just now, and I'll send you. So see for the tracks as well. Most of them are all on Spotify, apart from the newest one, which I thought we could maybe play like a 30-second teaser of,
sure,
if that
sure.
was okay.
Right.
Because I don't want to. It's not quite finished, and I don't want to release it yet because I'm not sure yet what I'm doing with that. But what's the best way to send you all that? Should I send you Spotify links, or do you want
Um,
MP3s, or what's?
email me the 30 seconds that you want played, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
play it for you, and I'll introduce. If you want to introduce the song and send me the recording with the introduction, and then
Mm-hmm.
along with it, you know, if you want to do that,
Yeah,
you
I
can
can do.
record and then play the song and then send it to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
I think I mean I'll write this all up and you can see you'll see all how it all comes together and if it fits or not. There most of the songs I had in my head, oh this would go well when we've talked about this particular topic. So I can give you those notes and you can see how if that actually works with what we've got and if you need me to re-record any intros or anything like that, then I can do that, no bother.
Okay. I think we're going to get cut off soon, so I'll catch you later, right, Stefan?
Take care. It was really good
Thanks a
talking to
lot,
you.
mate. Thank you. See you
Take
later.
care. Bye.
Bye.